We're gonna play some bangers today. Hello, all my friends. Today we're going to take a look at the black sheep, or I guess the pink sheep of all of our beloved game libraries. So, without further ado, we're going to take a look at Barbie games today. Yeah. There's actually tons of Barbie games. I only have a few, but you know what? We're going to take a look at them. Let's dive in. The first game we're going to take a look at today is the earliest one that I own, Barbie on the NES. It was first released in 1991, making it a pretty late NES game. It was published by High Tech Expressions, who made the Beethoven Super Nintendo game. Great start here. It starts off with Barbie reading what she can only refer to as a great book. I love reading about mermaids, but yawn. So obviously she falls asleep, making the entire premise of the game a dream. It's basically the same premise as the American Mario 2. Great. Only this time it's scarier because she's in like Ball World with these sentient pieces of sports equipment. Her only move besides jumping is throwing these balls, and it's honestly the most jank thing in the world. You hold B and it goes further based on how long you hold down the button. For the most part, though, you just use this to solve puzzles, like turn the toucan into a platform and stuff. Yeah, that's weird to say. Barbie is definitely a little larger than she should be, and as such, the hitbox is a little too big. And honestly, the controls don't complicate it, but dang, these tennis rackets just hurt her way too easily. I didn't even know that plastic dolls could get hurt, honestly, but here you go. You can be careful with your toys. The wallpaper in these stages is very atrocious. We need interior designer Barbie to be produced, if it hasn't already been, to make these walls look way better. Eventually you get to a boss, which is like a shoot or something, and it just like shoots deadly beach balls at you, and you just fight it by dropping the ball on a cat, and the cat runs over and hits it. Okay. Man, Barbie needs to lay off the acid or something. I didn't really get that much further into the game before I got a game over, and Barbie was just like, oh my, what a strange dream, and it automatically was like, nope, you're done. Yeah, this game's a mess, and it's plagued with too large of a hitbox, bad controls, and boring level design. I mean, it's a Barbie game, so what do you really expect? But at the same time, it's just like, wow. Okay, that was about as good as I expected, but darn it, I'm a trooper, so I'm going to take a look at the next game on the list. Barbie Supermodel on the Sega Genesis. So, this is Barbie Supermodel. It was also released on the Super Nintendo, but I have the Sega Genesis version, so that's the one I'm going to play. This one's even worse than the NES game because it's less intuitive with its gameplay. Barbie imagines herself in a sports car, and yeah, I'm not even sure if any of these games are even real or if it's just like Barbie's imagination or what. So yeah, the objective of this is obviously to become a supermodel. Sorry for the spoiler. All you do is just travel to modeling gigs and do tedious stuff. Much like being a real model, I guess. Everybody drives really slow in Hollywood, and you just like collect items along the way. But you often pause this wild action to play these mini games where you have to look at a photo of Barbie and match her outfit to the photo by remembering it. I think they're just for points though, and my garbage memory doesn't serve me well with this. Eventually you get to the gig and it's just like practicing walking on the runway, and you have to remember the button combination, and it's just basically like press a button, press a direction on the D-pad, press a button, so on and so forth. But yeah, remember this because at the actual show, this is the combination you have to do. But man, where do I get one of those sick pink Genesis controllers? After that practice, you just literally drive back the same way you came. Just, lack of variety. It's just more of the same. This time your destination is the actual fashion show. I don't know why they couldn't have just called me on the phone and told me the button combination, but yeah, hopefully these jerks pay for my gas. Next up, Barbie is thinking about herself rollerblading on the beach. It's exactly the same thing as Dakar, but it's a different setting. Is all of this Barbie's imagination? Are we all Barbie's imagination? That's the important question to ask. Well, at least it controls better than the rollerblading in California games on the Genesis. The third level has you in a snowy setting. I mean, besides the aesthetic changes, there's really not much more to say. It's pretty darn boring, and apparently there's no continues because I ran into too many things. I literally walked into ice that I could barely see, and they were just like, nope, you're done. Yeah, well, I don't want to play it anyway. Next up is Barbie Game Girl on the Game Boy. Yeah, Game Girl on the Game Boy. Now, if only there was a Game Gear port. This one is just basically an improved version of the NES game. It's the same general idea, but thankfully we're no longer a part of Barbie's subconscious. The hitbox is still a little bit larger than what I would find ideal, but at least it's functional here. It's an okay platformer. I mean, I'm not saying it's on the same level as like the Donkey Kong Land trilogy or anything, but it's far from the worst game on the original Game Boy. In between levels, you also get these like weird card matching games, so they're like painfully easy. The second level has you as Mermaid Barbie in an underwater setting. And there's these really goofy looking scuba diver guys. And the next level, I think, is a restaurant with random hot tea and the main character from the Emoji Movie. And holy moly, Barbie can screw attack in this. Is Barbie actually Samus? So you do a bunch of platforming over glass Coke bottles and go onto the next level, which is yet another mermaid stage. This stage, oddly enough, has a boss fight at the end of it, which is the jellyfish that has imprisoned the king and queen crab. Can somebody involved in the Barbie canon explain this to me? After that is a pretty short-lived Toy Store stage, which is pretty similar to the one stage in the NES game. It even has the shoot boss at the end of it, although this one you just directly shoot it instead of dealing with that cat to do your dirty work. This opens up the second last stage, which is a music world with keyboards and sheet music to platform on, and I guess this level finally confirms the vinyl revival that we were so skeptical on. The platforming is still a little tricky, but it's pretty easy regardless. The final boss is a jukebox that shoots music notes at you, and yeah, keep that away from me. I hate music. The way you fight this boss is really weird though. There's 3 quarters there, and you have to simultaneously spin them up at the same time by jumping in front of them. I have no idea. It's just very weird. The final stage is just odd. It's just like a pick-a-door sort of deal. It's like a bad Mario Maker level. It's kind of like a janky Metroid escape sequence, further cementing Barbie Game Girl in the Metroid canon. This game is okay, but it's not like a holy grail in the Game Boy world or anything, but at least you can beat it in roughly 20 minutes or so you won't consume too much time playing this. So I just have one more game to cover. If you like the mermaid stages from the previous game, then you're in for a treat here. This game is called Barbie Ocean Discovery for the Game Boy Color. Although it is one of those Game Boy Color carts that will work on an original Game Boy if you haven't upgraded your system yet in 2019. This one is pretty much just looking for treasure in the ocean. It's such a shallow concept, no pun intended. You just travel through the ocean in search of treasure, and how else do you do that? By completing boring minigames, of course. They're all about as average as you'd imagine. A sliding puzzle, maze, matching games. Yeah, there's really not much to say here, honestly. Each minigame unlocks a piece of something. Start off, the first few give you pieces of a map, and then the next batch will help you put a coin together that'll unlock a new area, and so on. None of these games are really hardly worth talking about, but let me tell you how much I dislike this catch the bubbles in the ring minigame. You have to land these slow-moving bubbles into these equally slow-moving rings, but they have to be the same color and they have to be perfectly spot on. And to make it worse, you have to match 5 colors in a row, even though it's completely random what colors appear, and sometimes you just run out of the one you need. It's just a huge pain to do. Oh, and the last minigame in this is about as close as you'll get to playing Echo the Dolphin on the Game Boy Color. Yeah, it's not fun. This game is much like the last one. It's just roughly a 20-minute experience. Once you get through the treasure, Barbie exclaims that she can use it to save ocean wildlife. Yeah, ocean wildlife, sure. Okay, so there's really not much more to be said about these Barbie games. I mean, they're an interesting piece of history, and I don't know who actually bought these and was like, ooh, this is a sick game, but hey, these games, they're a thing that exists, and we need to acknowledge them as such. Why am I looking at these anyway? Oh, that was all just a dream? Ah, jeez.